Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Swimming in Popcorn, bringing you your favorite way of wasting time with another one of our ego-inflated reviews that has just about as much depth as a slice of cheese. Speaking of depth, we are looking at Halloween Ends on today's podcast. And while just hearing the title itself turns some fans away instantly, I'm asking you to tune in and find yourselves at the hands of the most notorious killer of them all, the loss of creative direction. As I've stated in previous podcasts and videos, the Halloween franchise will never step down from the throne on my favorites list. The history I share with these films is practically embedded into my love of cinema. Having said that, Halloween Ends may just be the most challenging film of the franchise to review. This is highly impressive when Halloween 3, Season of the Witch does exist, having no relation to Michael Myers, Laurie Strode, or Haddonfield itself, with scenes in the trailer having a direct correlation to the film's graphic novel that would have greatly changed the viewer's perceptions and opinions. It baffles my mind that we were never granted specific deleted scenes, alternate endings, or even a director's cut of the film that could give us the ending we should have received. Much like Laurie Strode, I find myself left with a feeling of defeat after each viewing, wondering why events unfolded the way they did. Today, with elements from the official novelization, let's discuss what worked and what was slaughtered in Halloween Ends. We are introduced to Corey Cunningham, the world's renowned best babysitter without a doubt. A quick Google search of his name will reveal his very professional character traits, such as, but not limited to, a severe victim complex, fueled from a life of parental shelter, insecurity, delusional paranoia, and timidness. I won't go into too much detail about that night, but let's just say that Corey did a smashing job of keeping Jeremy safe, and the night really ended with a bang. These events, combined with the terror Michael Myers spread on his rampage the year prior, really paved the way to explain why Corey is the shunned outcast in Haddonfield. While the opening climax between Jeremy and Corey piggyback off the town's paranoia that Michael Myers may still be stalking behind every bush, I really appreciate the novel's description and insight on what events led Michael to decaying in the sewers, more so how he got there in the first place. While I understand that film cuts happen for reasons of pacing, budgets, and time restraints, the film would have benefited showing Michael killing the garbage truck drivers, stealing the truck, hiding in the meat packing factory, and chasing a victim into the sewers, where he spends the next few years having pizza with Master Splinter and the Turtles. Unfortunately for the film, the more we compare it to the novel, the more we realize it's been gutted of its insides, just like Michael's victims. It is worth noting that not having Michael or Laurie in the opening scene felt strange. The tension and shock of Jeremy's death did hook my attention. Following the opening credits, which are a huge throwback to earlier films, the first 15 minutes or so leave the impression this final entry in the trilogy would be something to remember. For better or worse, that feeling I had was right. Halloween Ends' biggest issue is that it expects you to find it believable, which you can do so only after you throw out most of your morals and understanding of human psychology. Laurie Strode lost her friends, she lost her daughter, and even lost herself to the decades of trauma and fear that consumed her persona. The writer spent 2 previous films boldly and unapologetically imprinting this into our brains, yet now we are faced with a Laurie who has moved on, healed. She bakes pies and is writing a book. No explanations of how we got there in the 4 years. No flashback scenes showing the deep-rooted struggles of this self-improvement journey. Nothing to remotely help us, the viewers, accept what happens to almost be a brand new character behind the face we've always associated survival with. Endless midnight drunk calls to Allison and extensive community manhunts are some of the unhinged behaviors over the 4 years we learn about Laurie from the novel. In one drunken night at the bar, she even goes home with the police officer, not to sleep with him, but to convince him to let her into the sanitarium so she can put an end to the nightmare she routinely lives with Michael amongst the living. Why not even a trace of this toxic spiral can be seen in the film is beyond justification. It's just lazy writing. The idea that Laurie finds some form of peace to help cope with the horrors she has faced in her life isn't impossible to grasp onto. But expecting us to blindly believe this without showing any of that journey leaves me feeling that the task was too much for the creative minds behind the movie to handle with everything else they were trying to achieve. Expecting horror fans to suspend reality during the viewing of a movie comes with the territory of the genre itself, parallel to a broken condom or duct tape on a waterline. Halloween Ends spends most of its time building up anticipation for the worst case scenario. The concept of evil being infectious is a theme adopted with this new trilogy. However, the transfer from the novel and script was unsatisfactory and disappointing. Michael Myers finds Corey Cunningham in the sewers, grabbing his throat and pulling his face within inches of his mask. During this time, Corey stares into the dark abyss that once were the eyes of Michael Myers. Subliminal imagery and flashes of the night Jeremy met his demise begin to race through Corey's mind. Michael eventually lets go, and after reaching the entrance to the sewers, Corey makes his first kill. Throughout the rest of the movie, we watch as Corey not only starts his mental decline, turning him from an introvert into an unhinged sociopath, but we see Laurie start to lose her grip on the progress she has made, while everyone questions her sanity. At one point, Michael and Corey team up together to kill not just one victim, but two more as they hunt down another couple in their home. To reiterate, while I'm not a fan of the dynamic killing duo, as it seems to go against Michael's persona in general, it's fair to point out that the 40-plus-year-old franchise has run out of fresh ideas at this point, and I was open to anything. The problem I'm getting to is that without context in any form or on any level, everything is left to be assumed or implied. The novel explicitly tells us that Michael gets his powers rejuvenated through instilling fear as he stalks and kills his victims. The movie shows us what feels like Michael shaking from a seizure after killing the officer. The novel explicitly states Michael transfers his evil into Corey, corrupting him from the inside out. The movie shows us an unstoppable and vengeful young man, killing everyone who did him wrong. Nothing about these moments in the movie imply or even elude the average viewer the message the writers wanted to convey. The homeless man in the movie that Corey kills is actually a man named Christopher Nelson, who has been feeding Michael Myers for the past few years, as well as bringing him victims to kill, and by doing so, keeping Michael alive. He was admitted to the same mental facility as Michael, but was let out due to an ongoing lawsuit. The novel also implies that while at the facility, Michael's evil not only transferred to the other inmates, causing them to kill, but at one point even started to infect Dr. Loomis himself. The movie, however, glazes over all the important aspects from the novel, leaving us in a position to believe what we see on screen without any supporting evidence. We take this point further down the rabbit hole when we put the ending of the movie into perspective. Corey, at the climax of his emotions, returns to the sewer and demands answers from Michael. Feeling the darkness consuming him, he comically wrestles Michael to the ground and takes his mask. The novel describes a power growing within Corey that grants him supernatural strengths Michael has always exhibited, allowing him to repeatedly slam Michael's head into the concrete until he is subdued and his mask is taken. The movie completely ruins this scene's concept by giving us a performance that looks straight out of a late-night comedy show. After obtaining Michael's mask, Corey then begins his own rampage that, while should mirror Michael's, feels more like a revenge spree being fulfilled. Both the movie and the novel fall victim to the fact that if Michael's evil was so contagious, if he was looking for someone to continue his legacy of fear and spread the infectious terror upon the next unsuspecting victims, then why Corey? Corey isn't the definition of evil, but more of a product of his environment. His father abandoned him. His mother smothered and stunted his mental maturity. Kids around school bullied him. The town residents labeled him a child murderer and a cultist. There was no evil to be seen in Corey's soul down in the sewers when they met. And the whole movie proves this by who Corey kills and how much self-control he lacks with his emotions, especially over Allison. Michael may always want to kill, but he has always been calm, collected, shown intelligence, and a bit of creativity, displaying his victims as art pieces. Halloween Ends drives this final nail in the coffin when we reach the last act of the film. While most can agree that maybe the Corey Cunningham angle might have worked if he was introduced in one of the first two films of this trilogy, what everyone seems to agree on is how pointless his death is. After Corey tries to frame Laurie with his death, we see Michael sneak into Laurie's house, take back the evil he passed to Corey as he kills him to retrieve his mask back. And then we get a final showdown between our two icons of the franchise. We were asked to welcome this new character with open arms into a franchise beloved by many and possibly be the new face of evil just to have it all be meaningless. There is no heartbreak when Corey dies. No tear streaks running down the face. Only frustration as we think to ourselves, the theme behind this new trilogy was thrown in the scrap grinder like Michael for nothing. The novel stays somewhat true to this idea, leaving Laurie possessed by the evil that corrupted Corey and Michael. She attempts to strangle Allison before letting her flee and can be heard, not seen, breathing heavy in the shadows of her house as Officer Hopkins tries to visit her. The biggest letdown is many of the scenes involving the novel's ending have been filmed, as we see some of them in the promotional trailers, and test screening viewers have confirmed it. Halloween Ends ultimately tries to remix a recipe that was becoming stale, going too many directions all at once, but ultimately ending up nowhere. The lack of a consistent conclusion to the new trilogy feels like it was thrown out the window for the sake of tacking on a Laurie and Michael showdown with a happy ending, which I feel will hurt the legacy more than trying to break the formulaic mold with a controversial ending. While I am not afraid to say that the filming locations, acting, beautiful cinematography, and general world building in this movie have more than impressed me for a franchise most would say has run its course, I'm going to give this film a 6 for the inconsistent themes and awful script choices. Maybe the real evil was never Michael Myers all along. Maybe it was us in the living world. Michael Myers may have a high body count in these new films, but the writers and director of Halloween Ends truly killed off more fans than he could have ever hoped to. Hey guys, that's all the time that we have for today. I just wanted to say the movie completely ruins motherfucker. What did you write? You wrote it. Read it. Sing it. Record it. Edit it. And fuck off. Why do you keep fucking up? You need a drink? Take a drink. Sippy sip.
Ooga booga.